You got to get to the other side of the pond, and then we can race. You can come to a game, all that good stuff.
Do you still think you're faster than me?
I don't want to test it, but thanks to COVID, my 6 years of college track and field experience are telling me yes. It came about to where Coach Mack said, well, yeah, that's the difference between Ryan and or person is like I would have no issues hiring Ryan full time right now if that was an opportunity. And that just, that took me back because as you said, like I had been so focused on playing checkers and filling holes and solving the small problems so that he can go like solve the big problems and be like the amazing head strength coach that he is, like 5 by 500 as the workout for that day. So you want him to run 2,500 meters, but how much did they actually run when you include drills, the warm up, the cool down, maybe an athlete likes to walk around between reps. I was a guy where at the finish line, I am taking a 90-degree cut to the infield and I'm laying down.
Hello and welcome back. Little change of streaming services, so everything should look a little bit clearer and work perfectly now. I also want to give a quick shout out to TeamBuilder. I bought their program and they sent me out a card, some stickers. So big shout out to TeamBuilder. Today's guest is Ryan Croson. We originally met at Udub, the University of Washington, for people who don't know. Ryan is the Division 1 athlete, and he's just an overall amazing S&C coach. So, hi, Ryan. How we doing?
Good. How you doing, Manny?
I'm good. So, first question. Do you still think you're faster than me?
I don't want to test it, but thanks to COVID, my 6 years of college track and field experience are telling me yes.
Yeah, I don't have that experience, but I can hang.
Okay. Well, hey, when you get back on the better side of the pond, we'll have to test it.
The better side of the pond, right? And I see you've got an Emerald City shake.
Shout out ECS. Yes,
what did you get?
Yeah. Peanut passion this time.
Oh, how was the gainer from last time?
It was good. Yeah. That's the go-to. You got to get a 32-ounce peanut passion or 32-ounce chocolate builder, which they put gainer in that one and ice cream. This one's just it's more holistic nutrition. The other one's like you're trying to bulk up.
Yeah. What was it that I got? I got peanut butter and banana when I was there. And that was my go-to. That was yep. Love that one. So, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey through sport, and just how you got to here.
Oh yeah, man. So 26 years old. My dad's on the manufacturing end of a biopharmaceutical company, and my mom's a school cook. I have a younger sister. She currently runs her own esthetician business here in Bothell, Washington. If you want to look her up, she's Groove Aesthetics for anybody here watching the podcast. So she does a great job, like hydrofacials, dermaplaning, some other but some other like facial care stuff. And then myself, so I went to Bothell High School, class of 2015, graduated, ended up getting a scholarship to run at University of Washington. Then I was there from 2015 to 18 before I decided to transferred to Baylor. And then ended up being there for 3 years, like I said earlier, thanks to COVID, where I finished out my undergrad and master's degree in kinesiology and exercise science, and kind of just through the grapevine. So my strength and conditioning coach at Baylor, Chris Roof, love that guy. Great mentor and kind of just influence in my life. He worked for Coach McKeefery when they were both at South Florida, I want to say it was 10, 15 years ago. And so kind of right as Coach DeBoer and his staff and Coach Mack were coming into UW, I had just graduated from Baylor. I got my master's done in a year and a half, so I was a January grad. That was right as this whole new staff was coming into UW. So I was moving back home, obviously from Washington. He put me in touch with Coach McKeefrey, and I like stepped in immediately. I think I was there like day 3, like January 3rd. I think the whole staff reported on the
Wow.
1st, and then me as an intern, I got there like on the 3rd. And just started interning. Yeah, I was an intern strength and conditioning coach for about 10 months. And then Coach Mack was able to get a part-time role approved from the NCAA. So right now on paper, I'm a data analyst and assistant strength coach for University of Washington football team.
Nice. What is the data analyst sort of part of your role? What do you do with it?
Yeah. So currently right now it's Coach Ben, he's our director of, I guess, applied science or sports science or however you want to say that. So my first and foremost job role is assisting him with whatever he needs. And right now, I mean, because I know I'm a data analyst, but everything is so automated now. Like there really is no analyzing. We have software that does that, right? And so like Coach Ben's done a wonderful job of setting up those reports and using Rock Daisy to our athlete management system to kind of help as a central access point for all of our data there. So, but my role is more on a logistical end. So distributing the GPS units, making sure they're all put in the right way, collecting them, maybe starting an upload if he's off busy doing something else, and then making sure that, if a guy forgets his GPS vest in his locker, I got to run in and get it. So just ensuring that everything runs smoothly on that end. Because again, like the whole like analyzing piece, that's all automated and online. And that's like, it's done for us. Right. So we recently switched over from Catapult to Stat Sport.
Nice.
Yeah, I made that change this year because you were here. We were probably still Catapult when you were here. We just had those demo units from StatSport, but made the switch. They've been great. Customer service is nice. I've had to call the guys a couple times, just troubleshoot some things, but we're actually looking into getting more units now as well. We're trying to get more guys and collect more data and help use it to budge the needle of running a more efficient practice and strength and conditioning program.
Yeah, I know when I was there, Coach Cream sort of had like the whole Excel like on lock. Like he had like sheets for everything, Power BI. He had like everything. Like I was lucky enough to like pick his brain a couple times. And that's when like my Excel sheets just started climbing from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a wizard with Excel and Power BI. And actually, come to think of it, way back when I was interning at Baylor before I got my GA spot, I was put the two coaches that I spent the most time with, Coach Wenger and Coach Lowe. I think Coach Lowe moved on to a different school, but he was just like dabbling into Power BI, and he worked with volleyball. And that coach loves statistics. So just kind of, and this is something that I need to do in my own time as well, is I really want to try to buy like a how-to Power BI course or get Microsoft get Microsoft Suite certified. So that, again, I can up my Excel game, up my Power BI game, so we can write more efficient programs. Right.
Coach Cream and Cook is the ones that like really got my Excel like to the next level. They're just like, this is what you need to look at. Fix this thing first and then look at everything else.
Yep.
So yeah. I know you have a pretty sick Excel sheet as well from your time at Baylor.
It's, again, not on their level, but for my like rudimentary skills of just picking up by watching other people or YouTubing stuff on how to do it, it's definitely it's come a long way. I'll say that. It's come a long way from just writing workouts on a sticky note. So we're in a good spot.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like your athletic career. So from like whenever you started to obviously Baylor, Udub, everything else.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I ended up running track in college, but track was kind of a secondary sport for me for most of my life. I mean, played anything under the sun really through elementary school. Middle school obviously whittled down, then high school whittled down even more. Football was my first love. So had, but was fortunate to be able to play that and run track because they're opposite seasons. But, graduating high school, I was 5'10", 150, kind of, I kind of had to come to terms with that wasn't going to be where I was going to be in college. But just had a wonderful run, absolutely wonderful run of amazing coaches in high school, both track, football, and then my select baseball coaches, of people that just kind of poured into me, helped me achieve my athletic potentials and all those. And it kind of just kept whittling down to track and field. And it starts my sophomore year. So my sophomore year, again, still thought I was a primary, football first guy, but I grinded through track, and I ended up getting a spot on the 18 4x1. And that year at state, we won our first state title since 2011, and we had broken the school record in the 4x1. And I was just a sophomore at the time. And so just to add a little caveat there, so school over here, at least when I was going through it, elementary was K through 6, middle school was 7, 8, and 9. So I didn't have a freshman year of high school sports, because you were still considered in middle school, even though your grades and stuff counted towards your transcript and all that. So I didn't get like a freshman year of training. And, it's always fun to play that what if game. Oh, if I would have had another year of high school training under Coach Dawson, how much faster would I have ran those subsequent years? And, would my college career look any different? But going back, I wouldn't change anything for the world. But anyway, so that's kind of what sparked my love for track. And then I ended up winning the 400 my junior year, and, I'm on a bunch of top 10 lists at the high school there, and then got to UW for 3 years. Had 2 coaching changes. So the guy that brought me in freshman year, he was let go. Still loved him. I ran great, made a Pac-12 final as a freshman, which is kind of really, really good for UW, because historically UW is a pretty distance-heavy school. They just recruit distance because, you look at the weather, look at the geography, the location, it's much, much better for distance runners. So I totally understand it. But, if you live in Washington State, you want to go to UW. Sorry, Coug fans, but UW's the place to be. So, ended up going to UW. After my freshman year, my first coach was let go, and then brought on my second coach, and he was great. Really, really clicked with him, ran fast. I think I'm still 5th all-time indoor in the 400. Nice. We got 3rd at Pac-12s twice for the 4x4, which was really, really good for us. And then I'm sure you guys can look this up, but my junior year, 2018, the entire staff got let go because the head coach, he had obviously, done some things that he shouldn't have. So, and in college sports, when the head coach goes, just like what we saw with Coach Jimmy Lake, the entire staff goes. So, and that's kind of, how DeBoer and all them were able to be put on staff and brought to UW. Sorry. Lost my train of thought there. But anyway, so my coach, my junior year, was let go. So I waited and I waited and I waited that summer, and I kept asking him, hey, are they going to rehire you? Because if they do, obviously I'm going to stay because I really like your coaching style. I'm running fast. I'm feeling fresh. And obviously they didn't end up rehiring him. So I asked him, on my behalf, are there any coaches that coach like you or fall under your same coaching tree? Where do you think would be a good fit to me? So he gave me 4 schools, and it just, it ended up that Waco, Texas, and Baylor University is where I ended, and, never looked back. And now I'm back here at University of Washington through kind of what I said earlier with my connections with Coach Roof there.
Yeah. What was it about the coaching staff that you sort of connected with and you wanted to be either with him or someone like him?
Yeah. So just his, I was at the point in my career, I was a 3rd-year guy. I had been through 2 programs, and I consulted my high school coach a lot during my transitional time too, of just, hey, you've obviously studied more training theory than I have. And you got me so much success in high school. What do you think I need to be the best that I can be in college? And he said, he thought that I needed a speed first program where you kind of you go against what's being taught, at least was that 5-6 years ago now, what was being taught back then, which is back
Mhm.
then you started, it was much of a quantity to quality, a high volume to low volume, low intensity to high intensity, to where you can kind of microdose high intensity all the time. And if you periodize it and wave it right, then you can, obviously peak at the right time, run fast at the meets that matter the most. So definitely going to a coach that shared the speed first philosophy is what definitely what I needed and what I
Yeah.
was given at Baylor for sure.
Yeah. So what, like, aside from like like the theory side, obviously, that you've just explained, what was it that you connected with it personally?
At Baylor, it was a home away from home for sure. I mean, UW, massive school, right? Like I was there, and my first class as a freshman, Psych 101, we were sitting in Kane 120. So for any of you guys
Yeah.
listening that have been to UW or seen any of the halls, I mean, we had 350, 400 kids in a single hall. When I got to Baylor, I had to do the 5-year undergrad program because I ended up losing a bunch of credits when I transferred because I went from a quarters to a semester school. So I ended up doing 2 summers and had to graduate in 5 years with my undergrad. So
Mhm.
I just had to grind when I was out there. Um, but my undergrad classes were 30, 35. And then when I
Wow.
got to my master's classes, it was 12, 15, sometimes like 9. And it was a very tight knit, family oriented community, which is definitely what it's not what I looked for when I signed to Baylor, to be completely honest. But it was definitely an additive that I really really enjoyed during my time there, just being able to connect with all those people on a personal level. Whereas at UW, it was you definitely, I don't know, for lack of better words, you felt less special, less taken care of. You had to be more independent. But I mean, I learned how to grind at UW. Like I don't resent my time at all. I absolutely loved it. I learned what works for me. I learned like how to build a daily routine on your own, and just kind of I'm taking those skills into my life now post
Mhm.
college. So like I said, I mean
Yeah.
it's apples to oranges. I love them in both their own special way, but Washington is still home for me.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I know Coach Mac, Ron McKeefery, for anyone. Um, he's quite big on setting those like leadership qualities within his interns and within his staff. Like, what's that transition been for you like? So from having to do it like your independent studies and all that stuff to now working with guys, but still expected to keep up that everyone has to pull their own weight and everyone has to do like their own jobs really well, so the team just like meshes.
Oh yeah, well there's a well for starters, Coach Mack, he keeps us busy. There are no shortages of jobs at any time. So if you're not working, something's off or something's wrong. So he does a great job with our staff, making sure that we are always busy and always trying to improve the program. Right. So
Yeah.
he uses a wonderful, I guess it's a website or software called Trello. And we
Hmm.
all have our names, we all have our checklists. I mean, I have my own daily checklist that I like to do or that I have to do. But then on top of that, he's always thinking of projects to help make us the best strength and conditioning staff in the country. Right.
Yeah.
And then kind of just based on what category it falls under or who he might need to contact is who he assigns that to. So again, we're always working towards building, I mean, just building a better strength and conditioning staff. And that goes back to his old adage there, right? The relentless pursuit of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
He like it's not just words on a wall for him. He takes that with his staff. He takes that with him when he's home. He takes that with him everywhere he goes. So, and it's definitely it's rubbed off on us as a staff too, and it's made us collaborate, and it's made us,
Yeah.
again, it's a tight knit family down there. If we need something done in Google Sheets or Excel, Cook's your guy. If we
Yep.
need to contact somebody else on campus, AJ's our guy. If we need to go to like maybe a slightly bigger company, we go through Coach Fink. Or if we need to fix something with logistics, it's Coach Fink. If we need any, Rock Daisy, if we need to see any special report, that's Coach Ben. So, and then, then I'm kind of the guy on the back end where I'll fill gaps,
Hmm.
right? Like logistically, if I could see a problem that might happen in the future, I take it upon myself to try to like fix that before it happens.
Yeah.
So like
I think
that's where I feel like that's where I add the most value to this staff for sure.
100%. I think that's something that we really connected on while I was there, was that we had this saying in between us both. It was like everyone's out here playing chess while we were playing checkers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just
Yeah.
like that ability to sort of read their minds into what's coming next.
Exactly, right? Because
Yeah.
when the right, and this goes back to one thing. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of something that Coach
Now
Max
you're
told
good.
me multiple times. He says like the best thing you could do as an assistant, and this is no matter where you're at. You could be strength and conditioning, finance, food service, whatever. Usually, right, the boss man, you're trying to solve like 30,000 level foot
Mm-hmm.
problems, but that doesn't mean that the 5,000 foot problems don't need to be solved. But if you
100%.
can automate or solve those 5,000 foot problems and keep working your way up, right? There's value within
Mm-hmm.
that entire bandwidth there, if you will. So, like, while he's playing checker or chess and he's got to think 2, 3 steps ahead, we need to play checkers and fill holes so that he's not worried about that. Right. And because with how much he wants to do, and he wants to take this program, right? Kind of right now, we're in the stages where we're inches deep and miles wide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Eventually we want to stay miles wide, but also go miles deep, right? Really take like an in-depth dive into every single aspect of our program. Obviously that takes time. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
This is year 2 with the staff, right? So, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it's like, don't underestimate the importance of solving those 5,000 foot problems or having the ability to foresee issues that might occur
Yeah.
because it means more than when you're not there and you potentially can't solve those problems, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when stuff goes wrong. Oh, thanks, Katie.
That's your sister. Yeah. No, like that was the same as my exit. So you know how like Coach Mac has those interviews with everyone at the end
Yep.
of it, like his
Mm-hmm.
internships, and that's something that he discussed with me. It was like you were, as soon as the session started, like finished, I was on to the next thing, and just like making sure that the next session is taken care of. And
Yep.
he like during our meeting, he was like, by you doing that, I was able to focus on some other things, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole team was able to get onto like different projects. And I
Yep.
think it's exactly what you're saying. Like he's dealing with 50 million problems up there, but like the couple that we're able to do saves him from having to like step away from those jobs and do them. And I think it's
Yeah.
that mentality shift with interns. It's like I think the first day I came in late to the internship. I came in a day late because of flight
Oh, that's
delays and
right.
stuff.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Yeah.
It was a nightmare. Like you've no idea. Like here's me saying at border patrol, being like, "Yeah, you can phone Coach Mark, I suppose."
Mm-hmm.
Because like they phoned him and they were like, "Is this guy legit? Is he actually coaching for you guys?"
Like, yeah,
but
let me in.
yeah, but the funny thing is, like at the end, he was just like, "Oh, it's money, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Amazing opportunity. Have a good time." I was like, "You couldn't have been this nice like a couple of minutes ago."
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
But like when I eventually got there, like Coach Mark was like, "Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your goals are for being here." And I was just like, obviously introduce myself, and I was like, honestly, my goal is to make your jobs a little bit easier.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
for me, it was like I have I have 5 or 6 weeks to let them know who I am and for them to remember my name. That was
Yep.
like my whole like that was my goal while I was there. And I
Yep.
think like it's just like these little tasks that you were talking about, like build up into this program that is Udub. And like
Mhm.
they did as well as they did last year. They've won their first game, and it's just like it's a continuous pursuit of like what Coach Mark always says,
Yeah, that relentless pursuit of continuous improvement for sure.
100%. Um, can you tell us a little bit of like your breakdown of this Saturday's game? I
Yeah.
know.
So I'll say this first off: Boise State's a good team. They're a really good team. Um, they came to play, and if I had to bet, I think they're going to be conference champs in their own right. I think they have a great shot of winning the Mountain West. But definitely started started a little slow offensively, so their defense came to play. Our defense played killer all game. I thought it was really, really good, and we rotated a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely like that depth of defense has shown itself. Excuse me.
It's all good.
I do know that we do run the air raid, and obviously, and again, I'm just a spectator, so that's
Mm-hmm.
like right. I'm like when it comes to football itself, I'm a strength coach. I know how to coach tech. I know how to get guys strong, but I'm not a schematic guy, right? If I was, I'd be in a different role. But
Yeah.
I mean, 27 yards or 30 yards or whatever rushing by halftime, obviously that's a stat that we're going to need to improve. We're going to want to improve if we want to win more football games. But other than that, I mean, I saw like Mike did his thing. Obviously, a couple disconnects there,
Mm-hmm.
some overthrows specifically, but I mean, it was game one, right? So that timing will continue to develop as the season goes on. But yeah, I mean, we went out there, we got a dominant win, we did everything we needed to do.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
with the shifts as well, it's like obviously it's the first game, and the amount of shifts that there was within the players as well is
yep.
kind of like can throw off a little bit, especially in that high pressure situation.
Yeah, to quote something that Coach Grubb said, he said we left a bit of meat on the bone. We got the win, but you know if we're eating a drumstick or a chicken wing, we left a little bit of meat on that bone. So I mean, obviously, right? You can always improve, but
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to get to get a commanding win against a solid team like Boise
Yeah,
State, who, like I said, I think they're going to win the Mountain West. So
nice.
like it's you know it's only up from here. So got to get ready for I think we have Tulane this week. Kickoff at 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Nice.
Yep.
That's one thing that I'm still trying to get used to, is because like most of the coaches that I know at this point are from America. So
Mm-hmm.
like me trying to book these and just like figure out like the time differences,
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah.
wild.
Mm-hmm. Like I said,
What's the
man,
biggest?
you got to get to the other side of the pond, and then we
No,
can race. You can come to a game, all that good stuff.
I don't think you're ready for this heat, Ryan.
You're right. I'm not. I gotta go spam RDLs and get my hamstrings fortified before this happens. Just give me 3 weeks. That's all I ask.
3 weeks. What's the biggest mentality differences that you've seen between like obviously track and field and now American football?
Oh man. So I mean, for 6 years there, track and field, everything I did was on a clock,
Mm,
right? So like when we would do intervals at practice, you know, like okay, like you get a minute and a half rest, you get 2 minutes rest, you get 30 seconds rest. Even running reps at Baylor, right? If we were doing a 450, right, 450 meters. Coach Ford, he had this little iPod that he hooked up to all of our speakers around the track,
mm,
and he would have it go off every, I don't know, 7.5 seconds. And then he would place a
mm,
cone every 50 meters around the track. And when that buzzer went off, you had to be at a cone, right? So just like everything I did was on a timer. It was on a
mm-hmm,
clock, and it was very like you had to be militant with stuff that you did, right? Whereas, you know, and then like when you rest, you rest. You get off your feet, you sit down, you
mm-hmm,
kick your legs up, you walk around like rest is truly like
mm-hmm,
don't do much. With football, it is go go go. We are on a clock, but in a different capacity.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like you were there when we lifted, you know, platoon style. So we'll cut the room into 3 sections. Got the dog pit, cage one and cage two, and you rotate guys through that way. It's like, listen, we got this many sets and this many exercises, and you got like a 10-minute block to get all of
Mm-hmm.
this done. And usually, with the amount of volume that's needed for football players, right there can't be a lot of rest time. We got to go 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 go.
Yep.
And then also with football, it's getting them to meetings, getting them to class, getting them to practice, getting them to activation, the warm up, like whatever it is. We are on a clock. We are on a clock, but again, in a different capacity where your rest is usually always active.
Yeah.
Like when you're
What do
resting from
you?
squat, you're resting your legs because you might be doing
Yeah.
push-ups or something, right? But it's
Mm,
not true like it took me a minute to get that like mental switch. I was like, oh man, like these guys don't rest. It's like, well, they do because when they're not doing a chest movement, they're doing like a leg movement, and then their
yeah.
chest resting, right? So kind of So flipping that switch
Yeah.
from this is what rest looks like to no. Like in football, they like this is how it's done. And then I guess it mimics the game too, because you get a hurry up offense and you're on defense. You got to go. You might not get rest. So
Yep.
it's I get it. I see both sides.
Yeah. What do you think that does psychology wise for sort of you having to now experience both and like
Oh
being
man,
part of one and then the other?
yeah. Well, I've definitely learned to think on my feet more coaching football. Again, making quick adjustments for guys that need modifications or for guys that have questions, just being able to think on my feet in a very, very fast manner. Because, in track and field, if you have those, even in the weight room, right, we're doing, 5x3 power clean. On our sheet, it said 2 minutes between your sets. When we use Gym Aware, and there's that little clock in the top right that rolls, so you're right, when your 2 minutes is up. But definitely, it's kind of it's that baptism by fire. Just it's go all the time from that first movement to that last movement. But yeah, so thinking on my feet for sure.
Yeah.
And then with the way how Coach Mack likes to run things, right? It's ultimate accountability, right? It's getting eyes on every rep, coaching every rep. So just always having that go-getter mentality.
Yeah. It's that intent part of his training.
Yeah. So when you're on the floor and developing a floor presence, right? Don't just be a fly on the wall. Like you're out there, coach, and if you're going to coach, you might as well coach with intensity.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with how
100%.
much these guys are having to do. So right? We have those TVs that sit up top, kind of across the whole weight room. So with just the way we write workouts, for every second that those guys are looking up to see a set or a rep, it's time taken away from them actually like getting the work in. So it's our job to know that lift front and back so that we're not looking up at it. And it also brings a level of professionalism to it as well, right? So if we wrote the workout, what do we need to reference the sheet for, right? Like we should know it in and out, and we should be able to demo everything on the spot if guys have questions. So just kind of, I guess, thinking on my feet and just being the ultimate version of accountability and having a presence in the weight room for sure. Yeah, I say like those 100%. 3 things are what I've learned the most.
So in the big piece of sport and world and what you've experienced, how big of a piece of the puzzle do you think S&C is?
Oh man. If you do it right, there's a lot of it that you can take into your daily life, meaning accountability, discipline would be the first two that come to my mind. Because if you can stick to a training program and you follow that process and you get the result at the end, right? That's going to be the same no matter what process you go through. In the weight room, it's cool because you can see it, right? We can apply quantitative numbers to it. Seeing a guy PR by 50 pounds on back squat, that's huge. We love it, especially doing it in a 6-week or 8-week program. Like that's freaking awesome. But holistically, in the big picture of college sports, I think that strength and conditioning is very important, but it's also it's a minor part of the pie or the puzzle. Because the number one factor that's going to determine like your skill level, your output, and all that is your genetics.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, right? Like dudes are dudes. If you're a dude and you apply yourself and you don't have a crappy attitude and you show up and you're present every day, like odds are you're going to play. Yeah. Right. But this is where the weight room kind of makes up for itself, right? So what we might lack in the piece of the puzzle is this is where we build the culture, right? This is where we teach kids to be accountable, have discipline, not be a smart mouth, handle their business, be an adult. Because that stuff, when we send them off to their position coaches later in the year, right? Just thinking of like an annual plan, because we get them in winter and it's just straight S&C. There's no practice, no nothing. Then spring, we send them away a little bit for spring ball. Then we have them for the whole summer, right? And then we prep them for fall camp, or then we send them away to their coaches. So as a point of contact, like a strength coach, you might be the closest relationship to that athlete. and that's another thing that I kind of didn't realize until I got to football, was just with how much we lift and we run, and
Mhm.
like just adding up the days. We spend more time with those guys, dude, than the position coaches, right? So just always trying to be a positive influence too, was another thing that I took away there, right? You want to make it an enjoyable space for them.
Yep.
Sorry, totally lost track of thought. What was your question before that?
We were talking about sort of how big of a piece of puzzle S&C is to.
Oh, yes, yeah. And then I went on to like genetic potential, right? That's how that's your number one determining factor. But where we can add to that in the weight room is building that culture, right? And making the guys or making the athletes better people, right? Because when you have better people, it's going to elevate the team in general, right? Like you're going to operate at another level. You're going to be able to execute at another level and go out there and win football games, which is ultimately what they're here for.
Yep.
So I like adding that culture piece into making them bigger, better, faster, stronger, or tapping into their genetic qualities of which they're already good at, right? We're just all we're doing is we're enhancing those, right? The kid's got the qualities. The kid got to the school for a reason, right? Because he's an athlete, because he can play. All we have to do is just draw that out of him or kind of highlight those so that he can go out there and play the best ball that he can.
Yep.
Oh, but on the flip side, sorry.
No. I was just going to say, like, Coach AJ put it the best. Is like, these are D1 athletes. Like they've earned their spot here essentially.
Yep.
We're just trying to fill out the little buckets that they have that maybe have like a little bit less water. We're just topping them up and filling them up.
Yep, exactly. And along the way, if we can introduce a successful culture and make them like a better person, a better human being, to where like after football, like they're going to be a successful contributing member to society. That's where it comes full circle in the weight room. And that's something that Coach Mack absolutely knocks out of the park.
Yes. I think that's actually one of the biggest like realizations that I was no longer in the UK was when I had my first session. Now I was with AJ for one, and two, it was freshmen, their first session ever in that gym. So like I just walked in like, all right, this is just going to be a weight session. We're going to stand around, tell them what to do. That was it. As soon as like Coach Mark blew his whistle, I was like, this is different. And then AJ cranked up the music. Like I could barely hear myself thinking. And then everyone started shouting. I was like, yes, let's go. But like back to your point, like it's 100% the culture. Like as soon as I saw the shift in that, like even just like giving people dubs and just like fist bumping and like helping each other up, I was like, this is something that I want to take over and like
absolutely
bring it across here, because like I've never experienced that, and I've been in S&C since I was 13. So for me, it was just like, right, this is how it's done, and this is what I want to keep going. On that, I kind of want to like sort of gauge when you started S&C and how like you've developed through it as well.
Yeah. So like I said, going back to high school, football was always my first love. Track and field was kind of, like it was something that I was good at, but something that I really didn't take seriously until my sophomore year of high school. But so like being a track guy, like I was always a meathead. Like for a track guy, like I would have considered myself to be a meathead, because I was always wanting to go up in weight. I was always wanting to do an extra rep or an extra set, or like if I failed, like, hey, let me try again. So just like kind of taking that football mentality into track and field. And that was definitely something that my strength coach at Baylor, Coach Roof, saw in me. So then when I finished my undergrad and I got into my master's program, I interned with I think at Baylor they call it the athletic performance staff. I interned with them and then ended up getting a GA position, a graduate assistantship, where I got to work with track and field, volleyball, acrobatics and tumbling. That's a fun team. And equestrian, so horse riders. And it was just I was really drawn to it and for the same reason I was drawn to track and field is you get out what you put in. Like 100% point blank in strength and conditioning and in track and field, like you get out what you put into it. And I saw results on both ends, right? On both ends. Even through working with Curtis for the past decade, like him writing my strength and conditioning programs like every single summer for the past, 10 years or so, just seeing continuous improvement there and what happens when you can apply yourself and follow a process. I guess that's what I like about it the most with strength and conditioning is it introduces you into a process or a journey that you take like yourself and your body on, right? And it's something that you can check in and see results at the end. And if you didn't, well, now we can go back and reassess. Okay, well, did I go too light? Did I go too heavy? What areas did I improve? What areas did I want to improve? And then you can do, run a self-diagnostics and write a better program for next time. But it's the art of applying yourself and following a process that I like the most, right? And kind of delayed gratification. We live in a world where everybody wants everything now, 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 now. Well, to go against that, you got to look big picture and you got to be in it for the long haul. So yeah, but definitely the following a process, I would say, is what attracts me to strength and conditioning. And then now on the flip side, as a coach, taking the kids through those process, right? Seeing a kid PR, seeing a kid do really, really well, or, like run a faster time, being a high school track and field coach these past 2 seasons, like that's ultimately gratifying for me as a person. Because I was here and I did it. Now I want to give back in that same capacity.
100%. I think that's what a lot more, like most of the S&C coaches are in this industry for, is like they've had that positive influence of an S&C, and now they just want to like give it, because it's I would say it's a small industry. Like everyone will know someone somehow, and everyone's like so tight knit as well. Like I have encountered some that aren't, but like that's far and few between. What has that relationship been like with you and Kurt, sort of obviously having you as an athlete and then now sort of being S&C coaches?
Yeah, so he well as an athlete, first and foremost, he opened my eyes to strength and conditioning, period. So again, going back to shout out Coach Dawson, my high school sprint coach, I asked him my sophomore year, what do I need to do to get faster? And to his credit, he said, well, strength precedes speed. So if you want to get faster, you got to get stronger. So then through the grapevine, found Curtis. He was working with my select baseball team at the time. We were part of the FCA feeder program. And then that was through Reho Athletics, and he broke off and made Curtis Clay training. But he kind of opened my eyes to like how the weight room applies to the sport. Right? Like I'm having you do a squat because your knees can, I mean, this is an awful example, but I'm having you do a split stance squat because when you're in your blocks, this is your feet position. So the faster and more powerful you can make this pattern, you can take it outside to the track, right? I mean, that was an oversimple analogy, but just through him pouring
visualization from one point to the other.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just like him pouring into me and allowing me, or him guiding me to kind of see how they can connect is what also like increased my passion for S&C. So now I try to bring that on the weight room floor with with the guys as well. Like, oh, why are we doing this many sets of reps, or why are we doing this like this exercise? It's just always like having a reason for it. And that's the other thing I've learned with, sorry, not to like cut you off there.
That's all good.
Is right. So in my internship and GA-ship, working with all those different sports, and now with football, like there is no right or wrong way to program.
Nope.
Right. And don't get paralysis by analysis to trying to like write a perfect program because one doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, there is no perfect program out there for any sport or any individual or any group per se. But as long as you can justify it and you take them through a principally sound
Yep.
program, then they're going to get better, right? So
100%.
that,
And I think,
yeah.
no, sorry, keep going.
Oh, and I think that's where I got caught up so much as a very, very beginning S&C guy was, and even writing just workouts for high school track athletes, I would just get so paralyzed with all this info of, I need to do this, but maybe that'll take away from this. But then it would make me think of like adding this in, but then I don't want to take away time from this. And it's like, you don't need to do everything at once. And
Mm-hmm.
there is no perfect program, right? So but as long as you follow sound principles and you progress it,
Mm-hmm.
your athletes will get better.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what, when I was at Kurt as well with you and like those sessions that we had together, I think that's the fountain of knowledge that he was just like pouring on us. I was like, right, this is actually making a lot more sense. It's just like, just stick to the basics and then try and build a program from there. How can
Yep.
you progress that? How can you regress that if you need to? How
Yep.
can you like make sure that your athletes are getting all their buckets filled,
Yep.
but still consistently performing their sport? Because it's quite easy to as well overload your athlete with 50 million exercises
Yep.
that take away from the sport. So it's
Yeah.
finding that, okay, I need to work on this movement pattern with them. How do I do that in the gym to get them stronger so that they can perform that in the gym in the field better?
Exactly. Yeah. Helping them understand why they do something and how it's going to translate, right? Having an answer for their how or why, for
Yep.
sure.
That's you sort of mentioned this before, and I know me, you, and Kurt had this conversation about genetics and how important it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do agree that obviously genetics are a big part of being an athlete and your potential of being that high elite athlete. And I brought up the point that you don't always have to be a genetic freak to still outperform and still perform at high levels. And I
Yeah.
think you kind of saw my point at the end. But like obviously ultimately genetics are genetics and you can't get around that. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're built for that sport, you're built for that sport. I can't argue with that. But it was sort of like I managed to get into like trials and all that stuff, but genetically speaking, I've not been gifted with the best ones. Like my mom and dad were never athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and there was just sort of like me that was an athlete, and then my brother who like was always used to competing with me, so he got to come up as well. So like from that, how important do you actually think the genetic piece is in that level of sport, like D1?
It's definitely a big piece, right? Like I think it's a majority of the puzzle, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of puzzle that needs to be filled in, right? And that's why, and that's one thing, again, just complimenting Coach Mack here, is that he uses the weight room to try to fill the multiple other pieces of the puzzle, even though the workouts themselves, like the S&C position, is just a chunk of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you, I mean, just to name a few, I mean, there's confidence, there's mentality, there's scheme, there's, I mean, right, there's like any underdog
Mm-hmm.
story you can think of, right? And it's been proven in college football the past 5 years. The best team or the best genetically gifted team doesn't always win. It's the
Yep.
team that shows up that day to kick ass. And that's, that's what we preach is, and anytime, anywhere, anybody, we're
Yep.
ready to roll. So
100%.
I think genetics definitely, they play a role in getting to that level, right? Like getting into D1 or like being an elite high school athlete. But once you're there, right? Or once you're
Mm-hmm.
at the pros, like, hey, like once you're in college, everybody was the best at their high school. or when you're
Yeah.
in the pros, everybody was the best in their college, right? So now it becomes like it's a mentality game. Or now the S&C piece actually gets a little bit bigger,
Mm-hmm.
because if you and I are genetically the same and one of us applied ourselves in the weight room, one of us didn't, the guy that did good in weights is probably gonna outplay us, right? So just kind of, it gets more important the more you work up the chain. But I think like just base your genetic potential determines a lot, at least through high school for sure.
Yeah. And I do, like, again, I do agree with that. But like, I know for myself, like, I applied myself really hard at S&C, and I
Hmm.
was able to like progress. So and I know we've sort of had this conversation, so I know, like, I obviously know that genetics is a big part. Like, I wasn't just saying that they don't matter, because they do. Like, if
Hmm.
you've not got those genes, you're you're fucked.
Hmm.
um. So obviously now that UW's in their like going through their season, next season they're going to Big Ten. What's your thoughts, and how could you describe the differences between 12 and 10?
Oh man. Well, it's a different style of football out there. Uh, right, there's a reason why there's a style out there called the West Coast offense, right? It's spread, it's 50-50 pass run, everything's done out of the shotgun, you're never under center. It's much more speed oriented, right? So it's, you got to get places quick. Well, the Big Ten in the Midwest, like that's a little more traditional football. It's smash mouth, it's I formation, QB under center, maybe slightly skewed more towards the run, but it's a much more physical style of gameplay that we're going to have to adapt to. And we've had
Yeah,
some physical games, but definitely, I think a good kind of temperature gauge for us will be week 3 when we play Michigan State this year.
right.
They're an existing Big Ten team, so I think it'll be a good temperature check for us
Hmm.
to see how and if we can handle that team stepping into next year, and for however long we are in the Big Ten. But we're gonna have to get ready, because I mean, if you just go and look at rosters, those guys are a little bit bigger in the
Yep.
Midwest. So, and I'm not saying we need to get bigger, right? There's different
Hmm.
ways we can beat them, right? There's scheme, as I said, mentality, right? All those other factors than genetics that we're going to have to use to beat a lot of those teams out there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it'll be an interesting transition for sure.
Yeah. The best example I can think of is like, I just picture Big Ten just being Jacks, like times 100 and something. It's just
Hmm.
like that size of player every single time. And big shout out to Jax Kirkland.
Yep.
Um, he's obviously in. Where's he at just now?
Cincinnati, I believe. I think he's with
Cincinnati.
the
Yeah, the
Bengals.
Bengals. Yeah. But like when I met him, I was like, damn, these people can get this big.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I saw the rest of the squad, and I was like, ah.
Ah, they can. Yes.
My first day, I was in I was D line and O line, and I met Tui, uh,
Yep.
Fatui Tuateli, and I was like,
Mhm.
he was in my rack, and I was like, oh, here we go. As soon as I walked in, he was like, hi, coach, how you doing? I was like, you're nice.
Yeah, of course, man.
No, so like because I was expecting like big, skinny guys, and I was
Mhm.
like, everyone's nice, and I'm just like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is this is nice. What's been your best moments, either coaching and obviously being an athlete so far?
Coaching, so I mean, being low man on the totem pole, just like with uh like this staff, oftentimes I get put with a lot of the newcomers,
Hmm.
or potentially the scout team guys. So, like, on the rare occasion that I do get to go out to practice, Because usually I'm inside working with the injured athletes, trying to get them healthy to get back to practice. But on the rare occasion that I have a short workout with a guy one day, or if they're off just getting treatment, I do get to go watch. I stand on the scout team side, and there was one practice last year where Tristan Warner, he got 2 picks as a scout team safety against Michael Penix, and
Nice.
that was just a very gratifying moment for me because Tristan Warner had been like on one of my OG racks when I got here in January last year, right? Like on day 3 as an intern, I had Tristan Warner at one of my first racks. So just kind of building that relationship with him, getting to know him outside of, he's just number 32, right? Like learning about him, his family, and he's a kid that works hard. He applies himself every day. He does everything right. I don't even think I've heard the kid say a cuss word once in my entire 2 years, or a little over 2 years now. It was very gratifying for me to see that happen for him, knowing him on that personal level.
Yeah.
It was just one of these just small niche moments that you might not think is super cool or really important, but it brought a smile to my face watching him pick off a potential Heisman or a potential Heisman winner in practice that day last year. So it was very, very special.
No, I get that. I get that a lot because like I've been asked that question before, and for me, it's like it's the simple moments. It's like the really like simple things that get you. And for me, it's like getting called Coach Manny for the first time by a player, because like here you just get called your first name. And like I know across there's like a big respect thing from players to call a coach, whatever their name is. But like that doesn't always happen. Like you still have to earn that coach respect with the players.
Yep. For sure.
Especially as an intern, like they don't know you from anywhere. They see like interns coming in and out, and they just like you're just there for a couple months and then you leave. So for me, it was like getting that first Coach Manny, thanks, I appreciate you for this. And I was like, whoa, like, and again, it's the simple moments that always get you. So I 100% agree. It's just like those little niche moments that for a lot of people doesn't matter, but for you, you're just like, actually, this kind of makes my job a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure.
You did mention that you sort of do the return to play guys and you're sort of in the gym with them. Could I get you to break down a little bit of concussion protocols and how that works with American football players?
Yeah, so at least the way that it's kind of ran at UW, and I'm sure this is standard across the country, but you are out. You are zero participation until you are it's 24 or 48 hours asymptomatic. Right. So that's headaches, right? Sensitivity to light and noise, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other boxes that you have to check off. But you need to be asymptomatic for a period of time. And then after that, we do a stress test. So I think it's, again, I'm not the one that administers this. I've just seen this. And it's, so like they have you like run on a treadmill and then you point your finger at a scale of like pain or RPE, right? Rate of perceived exertion. And then once you kind of pass that, again, I'm hands off at that point still. This is all athletic trainers that are with them up until this point. Then they get to practice no contact. So meaning they might like just be in a helmet, even though everybody else is in full pads. And so you can still participate in some stuff like individual drills, team stretch, all that stuff. But when we go to team or tackling drills, excuse me, it's us as a strength and conditioning staff. I know, dude, that had a little peanut butter. It's us as a S&C staff that take those guys to the side now, and we do conditioning with them. So like during tackling drills, if we have a concussion protocol guy, like we're doing tempos, or we're doing untimed tempos, or we're doing cuts, or just different drills to keep them active, like burning the same amount of calories as we normally would in practice. So it's like we're not missing a beat. That's where we step in during practice and during season. And then I'm sure there's more of a testing protocol, like there is a concussion test. I'm sure they have to take multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm willing to bet your score has to improve before you're, allowed certain stages in practice, until eventually, yeah, you're fully padded and cleared for contact again.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because obviously concussion's like a big thing now, and this should be in its right way because like you have to be in your brain all that time.
Yep.
So getting knocked about, I think it's really important to really focus on each step and making sure that they're cleared all the way. Because I know for Division One athletes, like that's a big important. Like there's a lot riding on them playing game every game. Have you
Yeah.
found any like sort of not pushback per se, but like this anxiety for players to just get through the protocol as fast as they can?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I I have yet to run across a player that, has kind of sandbagged or dragged their time out during having a concussion. Because in a in in college football, especially, right? Going back to something that I actually heard Coach Peterson say at a coaching clinic we had here at Udub. He says, players, there's the 5 love languages, right? There's like touch, quality time, acts of service, gift giving, and whatever the last one is. But he says college athletes have a 6th one, and that's playing time.
Yeah.
So even getting reps as a scout team guy for some of those players, it means the world to them because they're on the field playing the sport they love, right? Yeah, they might not be starting, but they're on the field and they get to play and they get to, like, it's an enjoyable, positive experience for them. And when you take that away due to concussion, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like, they're going to want to get back as fast as they can, right? To be a part of the team and a part of that culture that we work so hard to build up. Because when
Yeah.
you're concussed, right, and it's no nothing until you're asymptomatic, it's, it could, I understand how it can feel weird to be completely removed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to maybe not feel like you're a part of the team at that time. So I have yet to meet a guy that drags his feet through
Yeah.
through the entire concussion protocol, which our shout out to our athletic trainers do a fantastic job
Yeah.
with, like, because they don't feel pressure, which, I mean, they shouldn't, but they feel absolutely zero pressure to get guys back to. They do it by the book. They take their time. They do it right, and they do right by the guy every single time.
And they're always very involved. That's one of the things that I sort of got from my time there is like I would see them like even if they were just hovering, they would be at every practice. Like
Yep.
they would just walk through or they're there. Even if it's
Yep.
just like giving the guys water, they are there the whole time.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is how programs should be run. It's like, yes, S&C coaches, main coaches are important, but you're only as strong as like every single like role in that team.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, you kind of mentioned before, so you've running schools and coaching. Can you tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about like what you've done so far and where you're wanting to go?
Yeah. So right. So my current role at UW, it's only part time. And then during the spring is actually like a pretty chill time, for for strength and conditioning because they're in spring ball. So I go and I volunteer and I help out at my local high school and just with administering workouts, watching the kids, to help give back to the program that, literally helped me get into college. Right? Because between you and me, without track, I might not have gotten into UW. Um, but I mean, I had fine grades in high school, but I wasn't a valedictorian or anything. Um, but yeah, so going and coaching high school, it's wanting to give back in that manner, and it helps the paycheck too, because at the end of the day, I only work 20 hours a week under Coach Mack, just because that's all that this role is being provided right now. So with with any stroke of luck here when we move to the Big Ten. Hopefully that, some of
In
that
case
$50 million we're getting can go to make my role full time.
just the whole 15 on you, Ryan.
Nah, I don't need that much.
You're worth it though. One question that I had, and I sent you this video as soon as I saw it, but now you tried to explain it to me, but I didn't quite get it.
Hmm?
It was that gymnastics cheerleader video that I saw you.
Gymnastics cheerleader? What?
Yeah, it was like this beach woman and the cheerleader. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I sent you it because it was Baylor University. So I was like, Ryan, I'll try and find it.
How long ago did you send this? Let's see.
I'll see if I can find it because it was like honestly, this
Oh,
was
from
like
ESPN.
the biggest.
See it here. Yeah, you talking about this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the acrobatics and tumbling program at Baylor.
Yep.
So it's I actually I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm not sure if acrobatics and tumbling is an NCAA approved sport or if it's kind of one of those niche ones where only maybe 10, 20, 30 schools have it. But yeah, so that's just a unique program that Baylor has, and it's a mix of like drill team cheerleading and gymnastics, and it's a production. So when they're on the floor, like they have to execute moves on a certain cadence and do it together and hold pyramids and whatnot and throw each other up on each other's shoulders and all that. So those girls get after it in the weight room because they know their demand is extreme once they're on the
100%.
floor. Yeah, and shout out Coach Lowe. He's the one that directed their strength and conditioning program there at Baylor. And I was just a GA at the time, helping him administer there. But yeah, he does a great job with those girls. Yeah, wild.
I'll just run this back.
Yeah.
Wild.
Mm-hmm. Pretty nuts.
So I was like, damn, that's impressive. Like I need to ask Ryan about it.
Yeah, so they it's a niche sport, really, really demanding. Right? Because you got to have the flexibility of gymnasts, but like the strength of football players to freaking throw people above your head. Right. So but that's kind of what's cool about that sport too, is it's a mix. Right. So just like track and field, how that there's kind of an event for everybody, right? Your distance, you're a thrower, you're a vaulter, you're a hurdler, you're a sprinter. Acrobatics and tumbling, same thing. They recruit based on, are you going to be a base? Are you going to be a top? Are you going to be an acrobat? Are you going to be a tumbler? Right? There's kind of a role that anybody can fit into, which is it was really cool to watch them do their thing on the floor, but then also to train them as well. Because those ladies, that might be the most intense team that I've been a part of as a coaching staff, like just to watch train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
What was the best moment that you found like coaching them and like being part of that?
The best moment coaching them. Oh, the accountability on that team was second to none. If there was a lady that would would miss a rep or miss a set or not put on the right weight, those girls were quick to call her out, hold her accountable, put the proper weight on the bar, and to finish the workout, because they understand that your team is only as strong as your weakest link. And when everybody ensures that all the links are strong, then you're going to have a hell of a team, which is why they're like 9-time national champs in acrobatics and tumbling. So like Coach Lowe did a fantastic job writing a great program for that team, but then also maintaining that culture as well of just ultimate accountability. Nothing is ever above you or nothing is ever below you, right? And to kind of when somebody does call you out, it's not out of hatred. It's not because they want to see you fail or they're trying to put you down. It's out of love, and it's for respect and wanting the team holistically to go out there and win and dominate. Right. So it's easy to criticize and to coach at people and stuff, but to receive it in the right light is something that Coach Lowe was able to administer and teach them in a really, really impactful way.
Yeah. How important do you think that any coach's role, I suppose, in people's development?
Oh, it's vital, right? It's first and foremost, it's communicating clearly and effectively, which is something that that I definitely learned to do on the floor and on the fly. And this is actually something that I picked up from Curtis, just through 10 years of working with him, is certain cues work for certain people. There is no one universal cue that's going to work for everybody. Like, yes, the book says when you back squat, you're supposed to tell them chest up, knees out, butt down. Right? Well, if that doesn't work, then how else do we coach it for this guy? Or how else do we coach it for this lady? So just learning specific cues or learning multiple ways to say the same thing to where that one athlete is going to understand it makes a world of difference. And just kind of always having those in your back pocket as you're training.
Yeah. Who was the most impactful coach in your eyes?
In my career?
Yeah, in your career. Yeah.
Oh man, can I say all of them?
If you can describe why.
Oh, dude, that's a cop-out answer. I mean, I love, first off, I love Curtis first and foremost because he's a big brother to me. So, that's something that I didn't have. I am the big brother, but, so he's just always somebody that I've been able to go to in that capacity. Coach Dawson for being the first one to show confidence in me, right? And to kind of tell me that no, you can do this at the next level. I'm going to show you how. Coach Rawl at Udub and Coach Metcalf for taking a chance on me and bringing me to Udub, the place that I love so much. And then the other Coach Metcalf for taking me under his wing and getting me on some top 10 lists there at UW, and then eventually sending me on my way to Baylor, and Coach Ford taking me in like family and making Texas feel like a home away from home, and Coach Harbor there at Baylor too, taking me in, had a lot of great talks with him. And then Coach Roof, just again being a positive influence in the weight room and actually seeking me out as an intern in GA and really kind of setting me on this strength and conditioning path. He just says, I can tell you, because on the weight room floor, and on the track, I'm always trying to help guys out. Like that. I really feel like that's just who I am. So if someone was like, man, I really died on that rep, and I saw some, I bet, well, yes, because you weren't picking your knees up your last 50, so it probably felt a lot harder, right? Or in the weight room, if some guy was struggling with his clean, I say, hey, dude, catch it faster. You're being lazy at the top. Just out of genuine want to help my teammates out, right? So that's something that Coach Roof saw in me, and then eventually recruited me in as an intern in GA, and then sent me on my way back here to Washington to work under Coach Mack. So just all those coaches, I guess, being first confident in me and showing me a way and then allowing me to kind of be me as I do it has
Yeah.
helped mold me into the coach and person that is sitting here on this podcast.
Yeah. Like you've just touched on it. It's that belief and that confidence that you can put out to your athletes and just be like, to us, it just be like, it may just be something as simple as like, I believe you can do this. Like you're the
Mm-hmm.
one that's stopping it. And
Yeah.
like, as that's a small like thing that you can say, but to them, it could mean like the difference between them just getting by as an athlete and them progressing them is like that coach had my back, so I know I've got this.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you touched on something as well. It was like that having a chat with a coach, which I've been fortunate enough to have like a open door policy with my coaches. So like they used to always like if the doors were open, you can go in and speak to them about anything, even if it's just like, oh, what did you get up to the weekend? Like they would just be there to listen as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as coaches, because we do see them so often, and we're spending like an hour a day, 2 hours a day with them as well. So it's like
Yep.
having that relationship between like not just them as an athlete, but them as a person as well. And I know Kurt is really big on developing this as
Yep.
well. Um, so like, what's like the one moment that you really felt that coach like believed in you and you could progress as a as an athlete and as a coach?
Um, as an athlete, there was a practice my junior year. I want to say this might have been before our Kinko League, our Kinko Championship, which is league meets. So in Washington, it goes leagues, districts, and then state.
Right.
And this was the first year that I had ended up picking up the 400 again because my sophomore year I thought I was a football 100 200 kid. But my junior year again, Coach Dawson, he's like he asked me, he said, hey, like where are you at with the 400? I said, oh,
Mm,
I think if I can make a state final, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm like, we won a state title last year in the 4x1, right? So I mean, looking back now, right, like I should have been like, oh, I'm gonna go win that thing. But
mm.
I tried to give him the humble answer of, like I think if I can make a state final and maybe place top 5, like that'd be really really cool. And he goes, no, dude, like you can win this. And he pulled up athletic.net on his phone and he showed me all these times. And then I hadn't run those times yet, but he showed me my progression
Yeah.
compared to everybody else's. And he's like, if we keep rolling these next 3 weeks, like I want you to go win this thing. And I said, all right. And then 3 weeks later, I ended up winning my first individual state title. So
Nice.
just him as an athlete, that was a very, very impactful moment for me. And then as a coach, actually, this is something that happened a couple weeks ago. Coach McKeefery, I can't remember the specific context of the conversation, but um, just it it came about to where Coach Max said, "Well, yeah, that's the difference between Ryan and this other like candidate or individual or person is I would have no issues hiring Ryan full time right now
Wow.
if that was an opportunity." And that just that kind of that took me back because as you said, like I had been so focused on playing checkers and filling holes and solving the small problems so that he can go
Mm,
like solve the big problems and be like the amazing head strength coach that he is. I kind of it had just become like part of my routine, and I didn't realize how important that was to him
mhm.
until I overheard him say those words. And I was kind of I was taken back at that because I mean I'll be honest, I'm a low man on the totem pole there. At
I don't believe like there's a small role in that community. Like, I genuinely don't.
Yeah,
I genuinely
not with
think
his
that
staff.
no, like because like that was the same as me. Is like so the way like it was obviously Coach Mac, Fink, and then like all the head coaches,
Yep.
and then it was us. Like we would say you, Kev, then us.
Yeah.
but like Coach Mac made me feel like I was more than just like just all that, like everyone else. Like
Yeah.
he made me feel like you played the intern role really well. Like you
Hmm.
did your thing. You made sure that you did all the small roles, so like jobs, so I could focus on my
Hmm.
tasks. Now for me, I was
Absolutely.
just like, damn, like he genuinely appreciated my time for being there. What's next for you, Ryan?
Oh man. Well, hopefully, I said it before, but with this move to the Big Ten, my job does get approved and transition to full time. If not, I definitely, in somehow, way, shape, or form, I want to I want to get back to track.
Mm,
Right. So as I said, like I was a football guy, still am. I learned to re-love it with my job here at UW. But like track is what I did. It's what I know. And shout out to Coach Ben, just learning the sports science side
mm-hmm,
of football and GPS tracking and creating all these amazing reports and integrating with Rock Daisy and trying to bring like some of that to like potentially like an Olympic strength and conditioning staff somewhere or a track and field staff somewhere, right? Because like football practice every day, it follows the same structure, but it's relatively
mm-hmm.
random based on, like what type of individual drills they do. How long do we do one-on-ones? How long do we do teams? So tracking those every day, I get it. But track and field, I think bringing in GPS specifically and adding a sports scientist to that
Realm.
sport,
Yep.
it'd be a good way to to double check. Yes, you wrote 5 by 500 as the workout for that day. So you want them to run 2,500 meters. But how much did they actually run when you
Mm,
include drills, the warm up, the cool down, the maybe an athlete likes to walk around between reps. I was a guy where at the finish line, I am taking a 90-degree cut to the infield and I'm laying down. If we're doing any sort of like distance lactic work, like I'm getting off my feet. Some guys actually will like jog or walk around because they know if they sit, they're going to get tight. They don't like it. But so just kind of like, yeah, you wrote down 2,500 meters, but what's the real metric there?
yeah. It's
And
like
then
the internal external load.
exactly right, and like bringing some of these concepts to the track world because my brain's just racing a million miles a minute as to how we could apply that and change the look
Hmm.
of practice or the way we do things.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that would be very niche as well. So I think like that could be a really good thing to get into as well.
Yeah, and then also with apps coming out now like View Motion and what's the other one, like My Sprint, being able to do like gait analysis,
Mm,
right? So instead of just giving them drills to help with a certain quality that they need to do better, it's taking video to that or having a dedicated person take video of that and putting quantitative values into like qualitative, like what do we
hmm.
see, right? Oh, well, this guy, he's not running fast because his knee drive isn't really high. Well, let's look at his down leg. He's not getting to 180 degrees straight on that down leg. He's like maybe 175. And that's where the power comes from.
Hmm.
So maybe if we clean this up, this will like his knee drive will get better,
Yeah.
right? But maybe that's not the right cue for that athlete. Maybe he needs to think knee drive to get that down leg straight. I don't know, but just having an extra set of eyes with through the lens of a sports scientist and bringing that to the track and field college community, because
Hmm.
gait analysis, at least it's never been done to me when I was in college, and I definitely think like that's an area where that industry and that sport as a whole could level up. Now unfortunately, right, track and field doesn't generate the same amount of money as football, so working all that out would be
Yeah.
difficult, but I definitely think it's a missing piece to the puzzle that
Hmm.
could help training programs across the country for sure.
And like speed, like the running gates is one of the most important things for track athletes. It's like how
Absolutely.
can you make that? Because it's like you're talking like split seconds at this point. Like it's very very minute
Yep.
detail that can mean from like a third place to gold.
Yep.
So it's like it's having that very like the zone of
Mhm.
improvement. But like, and you kind of went through this with me a little bit, and so did AJ. But I think people knowing the differences between vertical and horizontal as well.
Yep.
So could you explain that a little bit? Because you're 1,000 times better than me at explaining it.
Yeah, yeah, right. So, like, so if you take a race, and this is any race, this could be a softball athlete like running from first to second, or a track athlete coming out of blocks, or a wide receiver in their stance coming out of a stance. First and foremost, you need to overcome your own body weight, right? Because you're starting static, you're starting still, and you need it to move. Well, you need it to move in the proper direction, and that's considered horizontal force, right? From point A to point B. Now, eventually, along the line there, once we've established that momentum or that speed, in order to carry it, we need to have good vertical force, right? So there's a force to like get us started, but then the force that maintains it and keeps it going is vertical, because it's not somebody pulling you back that's going to stop you in the horizontal plane. It's gravity pulling you down that's going to slow you down. So to start, we need good horizontal power.
Mm-hmm.
But then once we're up and we've established our horizontal power, to maintain it, or to not, let me speak in right terms here, to not lose what we've built during horizontal power, we need to have good vertical power and vertical displacement. Because again, somebody's not pulling you to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gravity pushing you into the ground that's going to stop you.
Yeah, and I think as well, you can only get faster with how hard you can contact that floor as well. So the
Exactly. Yes.
so again, it goes like horizontal to go vertical and up. It's like
Yep.
a weird power dynamic that works
Yep.
to get you to go forward. And I think
Exactly.
like AJ also put it the best is like horizontal is how you can go this way in as few steps as possible.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
going from here to then there in as few steps as possible. So your horizontal velocities count for like, so say I've got a step here and a step
Mhm.
here. I need to get from here to here in as less space as possible. So my
Mhm.
first few is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I want to go 1, 2, 3, and
Yep.
that's working on that horizontal.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's force production, right? The more force you put into the ground, the further you're going to be able to project
Hmm.
horizontally, the less steps you're going to take, making you a more efficient accelerator, I guess.
Yep.
Yep.
Which brings me to my next question. I know you do a lot with the gates and opening up the hip flexors and hips. Can you talk us through a little bit of that and how you came to sort of perfect this?
Yeah. So, I guess first off, it starts with the eye test, right? And you can kind of tell pretty quickly who's a good accelerator, who's not, and who looks good once they're vertical, and who and
Hmm.
who doesn't. And then from there, I guess two things that I look at are hip flexibility, right? And then how their hip flexibility then affects where their knees and feet are in space. Once we can get the hip flexibility to an area that is achievable and repeatable for that athlete, then we can start working on the little nuances of um, shin angle, right? Knee
Mm.
flexion and extension, ankle
Plantar
angle or
flexion, dorsiflexion.
foot ankle, plantar dorsiflexion, how my foot is striking the ground and interacting with the ground. So I take it from a top down approach, if you will, because I think the hips have or probably are the most important piece there. But you could definitely work ground up too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
as I said earlier, there is no perfect strength and conditioning program. There is no perfect way to analyze a runner either. But just it definitely helps having, ran collegiate track for 6 years and coaching it at high school for two, just learning what cues work for some kids and what drills work for some kids. But the biggest thing is just getting their posterior chain
Mm.
strong. Yep. So
You can only
glutes.
move as fast as that can hold up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's
Glutes and hammies, man.
that's why I love AJ. Like he's like the perfect balance of a meathead and like a high velocity and acceleration type athlete. Because he
Oh
was
yeah,
like the posterior chain he did with us, like that stuff sucked. But
yeah,
like at the end, I was like, "Do you have a program that I could follow for this?" And he's like, "Got you." But
yeah.
like just like the GHR stuff, the razor to GHR, like that, like it sucks at the time, but you can feel the benefit. And again, you can only sprint as fast as your hamstrings allow.
Yep.
Because like although it's a quad dominant movement, but you need that ratio balance so like your hammies
Mhm.
don't go out, and then if they go out, you're done essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, I mean, I know definitely last year with the football team, we did have again like nothing major, but just quite a few hammy tweaks.
Mm,
You know, so this year in the off season is something that we addressed very very frequently.
yeah.
Right? So dose the right percentage, just incorporate some more PC movements as a whole. And this year, I mean, I know it's only game one, but getting through fall camp and then now game one, we've been really good with it. So
Hmm.
hoping that trend holds throughout the season for sure.
Yeah, and again, like the hammies is such a big thing, and Coach AJ put it the best. Is like your posterior chain is like the bottom of the pyramid,
Yep.
and anything after that, that's just like building up onto this foundation. But your posterior chain has to be the first to be strong and effective. If
Hmm.
that goes, you're out, and then you
Yep.
can't perform. Yeah, like how much hamstring did you and do you program for your athletes?
Oh, I mean, obviously, right. It's again, this might be the track bias. This might be AJ's words running through my brain, but definitely it's every workout, even if it's a little something, right? Just something to get to kind of wake them up or tell them, hey, hello, I'm here, or just or we could be working hypertrophy, strength, even repetitive power or stabilization through your posterior chain. It's for my personal plans or plans that I write for people, it's microdose throughout their workouts
Hmm.
for sure. And then obviously if we're gonna have an intensive sprint day, I don't do it because
Yeah,
they're gonna get worked within the sprinting. So yeah, but it's I mean again just track bias and understanding how important the PC chain is. I try to do a little bit every time.
yeah. No, perfect. Thank you so much for this, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Like this has been dope, and I love talking to you. We could talk for hours.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we
We're
have
gonna have
done.
to do an episode two.
I want that so much. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I like this because it's like we're relatively new coaches. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you've probably got a couple of years on me. Um, at that level as well. It's like I like to hear from younger coaches as well to see how their progression and how they got through to the place that they're at, because that
Yeah.
essentially helps the next wave coming through. Is like, how can you do it? Like I don't know from you, but for me, like I've only ever seen. I didn't know first of all that this could be a career path in my high school. So
Mm,
going from there to where I am now, I've just like sort of forged my way through across here, and it's now that I'm stumbling on all these coaches across here, and I'm just like, damn, like there is actually quite a few. So this is the whole idea for this podcast, is just like against people like you who are still relatively new in the industry, and just like getting your stories and talking about how you got to where you are.
yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure.
Now, shout out your Instagram, shout out anything that you have coming up as well.
Oh yeah, I mean Instagram, Twitter, it's just at and then my name down there, but no space, just at Ryan Croson. So you can hit me with whatever you guys want. If you want to know more or learn more about me, my track background, or my current role at UW, just ask away.
I would definitely recommend you asking about his speed and speed development, because he breaks it down very simply and effectively. Like I've always been the strength first, the power first athlete, but it wasn't until I sort of like saw some of the coaching sessions that you did for the Wheatville boys, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, yeah, so there is a little bit more than just running. Like
Yep.
the banded stuff that I saw you do, the like that was quite interesting for me, because it was again that horizontal. You were trying to get him to elongate his steps to make
Mm-hmm.
him faster. So I would definitely hit him up for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Manny.
Thank you.